Thanks again for staying with us. Of course, a major topical issue in the political scene, apart from what's happening at the APC national level, is a recent court judgment by Justice Ian Eko of the Federal High Court, Abuja, who opened a new vista in Nigeria's political landscape by ordering Governor EBONYI and his deputy and 16 other lawmakers to vacate office on account of their defection, and that was sometime in 2020 from the PDP, the platform that brought them to power, to the APC, the platform they are now in. And legal perspectives have been coming for today on the show. We just want to engage that a little bit. And let me thank very specially two learned brothers that are here. Barrister Sonny Daudu is a member of the State Executive of the Benin branch of the NBA. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much, sir.
Also have with us Barrister Matthew Dagisek. Barrister Matthew, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thanks for having me, Duke.
Okay. Now, I'm aware that in law, there's what is called precedent. And the precedent that have been set for cases like this in our law books to have, given us such a situation wherein this judgment should not have arisen in the first place at all. Let me begin with you, Barrister Sonny Daudu.
Well, thank you very much.
Not that one.
Barrister Daudu.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Yes, there are precedents. But this case is unique.
What makes it unique?
It's unique because in this instance, which has not arisen before, is that it is a party that went to court, that the candidate is sponsored, appears to have obtained the sponsorship by deceit. And as such, the mandate should be retrieved. And they have done so, and the court was up to the task. I think the judge must be commended for taking such a bold step in rewriting the dynamics of our political development. I think it should be commended. Now, if you put the issues, you see that all the cases cited by learned seniors are not on all fours with this case. And as such, the party has successfully retrieved their votes from the candidate. And in USA Mark 4, in the case of USA Mark 4, is that Lord Dennis said that you cannot put something on nothing and expecting it to say. The argument canvassed by people, learned seniors, who said, arguing they are on grounds of tenure. It was not a matter of tenure that was taken to court. It was not a tenure. It's not a tenure of elected executives that was taken to court. The court, what was taken to court was that a person have deceitfully obtained the ticket of the party and converted it. Conversion is a criminal conduct, cum election issue. So they went to court and explored that. Now it was only the consequential order that led to their removal. They didn't go to court and say it should be removed. That was not what they went to court. No, it was not a prayer. It was a consequential order of court. Because once a decision of court has been given, there must be a consequential order. The consequential order that now that you are studying on the bare ground, on a bare footing, you don't have something to stand on, then you must leave. And if you must have to leave, a fresh election has to be conducted because there is no vacuum in government. That is the decision. So all the plethora of cases cited, including the case of Atiku Abubakar, an AG of the Federation, is not in all fours with this. Because in that situation, the vice president and the president of Nigeria were on the same ticket. So there was nothing to retrieve, even when he decamped. There was nothing to retrieve because the president was still holding, was still holding the votes on the party, remaining with the party. It's only the person who we carried with that left. And the judgment also went for that to say that upon the defection of the president, of the vice president, the president ought not to have declared his seat vacant on ground of defection. That what Atiku did was gross misconduct. The Supreme Court speaking, that it was gross misconduct. That impeachment proceedings would have been initiated for the purpose of removing him, and not to declare his seat vacant. That was the reasoning of the court.
Okay, let me pause you there for a moment. Pastor Dagisek, what are your perspectives? Now, here, in an election, the man who, you don't find the candidate of the political party on the ballot box, what you find there is the party emblem or the party logo for people to identify. There is some sort of argument for and against who actually owns the vote cast in an election. Is it the political party? Is it the candidate? Does that play out in this case?
This case has a precedent in the sense that in the case of Kogi State, the incumbent governor now, during his first tenure, he did not participate in the electoral process. The person who ought to have been the candidate, who was the candidate, died. Because the vote belonged to the party were given the right to pick somebody to come and
fill that vacancy.
Yeah, to come and fill the vacancy. The party having won the election, and the candidate they presented is no more. So that is already a precedent. In that decision, the Supreme Court said the vote belonged to the party, not the candidate. If it had belonged to the candidate, Bello couldn't have been able to step into the shoes of a vote that belonged to a deceased, because Bello was not the next of kin. It would have been personal property. It would have devolved to his estate. So because the party is the original owner of the mandate, they were at liberty to say, okay, we have won these votes, this election, we bring this one to come and take the seats. So in a democratic contest, in the order of the Nigerian arrangement, vote belongs to the party because there is no independent candidature in our electoral arrangements. So if a party goes to the poll and a candidate is featured by the party, the candidate is an agent of the party. The party remains the principal. And if you know what it means, the relationship between the occupant of elected mandate and the people who voted, it is being held in trust. Okay. Have you once imagined voting for party A and the president emerges and the next the president comes to another party? That means a change of government without a change of mandate. That is a democratic coup. I can't vote for APC, for instance, and the president, they emerge the winner of the presidential election. Then the next day after the swearing in, the president will not become to PDP. I have been shortchanged as the electorate and even the party. I didn't vote for that party in power. I voted for the other one. If you are swapping, if you are now migrating with the mandate, justice and equity demands that you should leave it for the rightful owner while you are migrating. You can't migrate with a property that won't belong to you without the consent of the people who gave it to you. That is stolen property. And the right to retrieve it is originally with the people who own the property. In this case, the political party. So there is every reason to chair this decision. It has been able to remove the stigma from our democracy. This idea of voting for a set of persons under a political party. And tomorrow you are not consulted as the person who voted for him. They go on their own, abandoning you. Whereas they are supposed to be holding that in trust on your behalf. Yeah. So you have been stripped naked. You have been robbed. That is swindling. And any swindler cannot be a celebrated character. Swindling is morally and legally offensive. So for them to say the people who have squandered with a mandate should return it back to the rightful owner is a welcome and commendable decision.
Okay. Let's just take an update on some of the issues coming forward from the judgment by Honorable Justice Ian Echo. We have that Governor Dave Umahi has stood for peace and vows to appeal decision. It says judgment contradictory to Constitution, says counsel. And the PDP already names Gariwe Udiogu as new EBONYI governor and deputy, asks INEC to issue certificate of return to them. And then what more can we have for you? It says charges EBONYI chief judge to swearing its nominees immediately. Court can't remove them for defecting. And then Chief Mike Ozekome SAN insists it's too radical and a departure from wording of our Constitution, says Obiareri, and decision has opened A new vista, says Ugwamadu. These are views and perspectives coming forward on the recent development in Ebonyi State. But let's get back to Barrister Sonny Daudu. You made it clear that this is unique.
It's unique.
And it's a departure from what we've had before.
Yes.
Can you expatiate more on that? And then what do you expect to see? We understand that the governor has already approached the court, but at this point in time, in line with the judgment that has come forth from the Federal High Court, can he step aside so that those the PDP has nominated can now be sworn in? Is that possible?
Well, there's something that is impossible. But again, the law creates about 90 days for him to appeal because it's a final judgment. Within that time, he will still remain the governor, subject to if he's unable to appeal within the 90 days. So he still remains the governor even though the decision is there. But what is important there, what is important in that judgment, is that a community reading of that constitution, of the 1994 constitution, it has the electoral act. There is nothing in the constitution or the electoral act that bars the court from making the order that was made. There's nothing in the constitution. I have make attempt to assure and look at, scrutinize the constitution. There's no express prohibition of the court, because it's the court that will interpret the provisions of the constitution. And not even, the lawyers will put forward the arguments. But who interprets the provisions of the law is the constitution. And if you look at what is actually the law is the prophecies of what the court will say, and nothing more pretentious. So whatever the court says is a case law. And the basis of the case law is to deepen the tenets of the law. And in this way, to deepen the institutions of democracy. And that is what the judge has done. Now, those who argued that there is no express provisions of the Constitution, basing the arguments on Section 68 and 109 of the Constitution, also took a somersault for not contemplating whether the Constitution would have intended to be discriminatory, to have provided discriminatory provisions that recognizes the removal of a legislative arm of government or grounds of defection, and failing to also provide such for the executive. It will be a discriminatory practice of the Constitution. And if it is there, the only people that can immediately correct it, which may subsequently lead to an amendment, is the court. There are express provisions in the constitutions that says that if you decamp from a political party to another, except of course there are cogent reasons, there are divisions
in the political
party, you lose your seat. Now the argument narrowly and surprisingly also was that they said it was restricted to those in the legislative arm of government, without also further examining whether that would not be discriminatory in the political development if it was restricted, if it cannot be given a wider interpretation. Now, they also fail to argue or look at the canons of interpretation of the provisions of the law. There is a mischief. If there is a mischief, it is the court that chooses, that fills the gap. If there is a lacuna, the court fills that lacuna. That is why we have a case law. And once the case law has been made, it becomes the law. That is why we cite cases to buttress our points, to support the provisions of any law while we go to court. So in this wise, the jurisprudence of the law vis-a-vis the electoral practices has been deepened. And I have said, and I will continue to say that, the judiciary have shown bold determination that they are not tied to the purse string of any government. It has shown that the independence of the judiciary we have been canvassing for is now playing out, especially flowing from the decision of the Federal High Court judge sitting in Abuja.
So who by virtue of this judgment, owns the votes in the election? Is it the political party or the candidate?
In plethora of cases, up to the Supreme Court,
yes,
have held strongly that the votes belong to the political parties and not the candidates. So if the votes belong to the political parties and not the candidate, the party have now retrieved their votes. Now that the party have retrieved their votes, the governors are sitting on nothing, and they can't remain in government. They cannot remain in that seat. If you look at I cited the case of Falike and Yahaya Bello, the case of Amechi and Omega, and several other plethora of cases. The court has heard
Supreme Court.
But the erroneous, with due respect, sir, the erroneous position that have taken by some senior counsel in the abortion.
So like Chief Mike.
Yeah, he took.
Said there's been a migration.
No, sir, he took with due respect.
Yeah, from a migration from the courts. I mean, the votes being that of the political party to the votes being that of the candidate.
No, he took wrongly, sir. The case he cited was not unlawful. What the court said, the Supreme Court, was that it is the candidate who wins the election. That's what the court said, and it's right. The court was right.
So
the candidate wins the election with the votes of the party.
Okay.
While the party takes their votes, you loses that vote winning. It's the party that went to court. That's why I said this is the first time the party goes to court and say my votes, give them to me.
And I asked a question a while ago. Because you said there is a uniqueness in this case.
It's very unique.
What is the uniqueness?
The uniqueness is that this is the first time a party goes to court and said a person having deceitfully pseudoed us to get our votes, to use our platform, we then want to retrieve the votes, and it was given to them. This is the first time. It has never happened. That's what makes it unique. Now the party have taken their votes from him, with which he won the election. He won the election. With whose votes? With the party's vote. Now they have taken it from him, those votes. He stands on nothing. The case cited by Ozekhome, with due respect, was when the Supreme Court held that the party that wins, the candidate that wins the election, which is correct. The candidate wins the election with the votes of the party. Once the party goes to court and says, give me my votes on grounds of deceit, on grounds of the fact that you have converted my property, conversion is stealing. It's a criminal offense.
Isn't this just mere semantics?
It's not semantics, sir. It's not semantics. If, for instance, I climb on top of this man's ladder to the top of the roof, and the man takes his ladder, you are saying I will fall because I have climbed to the up of the roof. Great fall. Are you listening, sir? I have climbed successfully, sir, to the top of the roof with this man's ladder. The man says, okay, he takes his ladder, and you are saying I can remain on top of the roof without falling to the ground. It's not semantics, it's clear. It is good, it was true that I'm already on top of the ladder, but whose ladder? It's him. So the party says, yes, you won the election. There's no doubt about it. You win the election based on our votes. And now, having resigned, you cannot, in law, you cannot approbate and reprobate. You cannot in one angle say you have resigned from the party, in another angle you are saying you are carrying the mandate of the party to another area. So it is approbating and reprobating at the same time, and the law frowns at it. Okay. So it's a somersault for anybody to argue that that decision is not meritorious. It is based on law, it is based on the Constitution, it is based on public policy, it is based on justice, because the court is both a court of law and a court of justice. Okay. The justice of this matter has been said. Now there is a doctrine of ubi just, ubi denedion. Where there is a wrong, there is a remedy. Even in a court of law, the court award damages, what we call general damages, not based on the fact that it was contained in the Constitution or contained in any law, that general damages should be awarded. No, the court look at the circumstances of the case. If a litigant has been able to prove that he was wronged, injuries were suffered, and the injuries that were suffered were caused by this person, the court discretionarily awards damages. Not based on law. Okay. That's the justice of the matter. Okay, if the justice of this matter was the fact that the votes had been retrieved, and the constitutional order was made, that they cannot continue to parade themselves as governor and deputy governor of the state. Okay. And that is beautiful.
Okay, now where does the fact that the governor and his deputy, they are serving, and then there is section 308 that provides for immunity?
Yes.
So let me get Barrister Adegese, get your thoughts on this. Where does the immunity of the governor and his deputy come to play in this case?
Immunity is for criminal liability, not for civil liability. You can sue the state government in civil action, and you get a remedy.
Is this a criminal liability?
It is an electoral offense. It is a civil. It's civil.
It's civil. It's not criminal.
It is property ownership we are talking about here, which is purely civil. Civil action.
Okay.
The mandate is a property of the party, as the Supreme Court have said. Now the owners have come to say, since you have run away as my agent, you are now working with another company. You no longer have my authority. I'm no longer your principal. Give me my mandate, but let me appoint another agent. That happened. So immunity does not confer on you the right to convert people's property. You can take the federal government to court if they encroach on your land or they acquire your property by unlawful means. So immunity has no business with diverting electoral mandates and swindling the people of goodwill to now surface in a mandated form in another territory. Under the, I think that is illegal migration, if we want to even say it. Yes, you did not.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, you are not given the pass to live. You run away with the property of a particular territory that God tell you citizenship and everything. They are absconded. So you were able to trade the property to where the person who is absconded it is and say, give it back to me, it is mine. And the label on it is the logo of the party. Let me tell you, it is even bigger than the party. It boils down to the heart and soul of the spirit and the letters of democracy. When we queue up on election day at the polling booth to cast our ballot, we have a conviction of the party we want to put in power. When the majority carry the day and they produce a leadership, and after the whole effort and exercise, the beneficiary of that public effort take a majority vote, for instance, to a minority party. What has happened? That is not democratic. That is a coup, a democratic coup. And coup in any way has no business with democracy. You have taken the mandate given to a particular party based on the conviction of the voters that this is the party we want to put in power. That's why you have words like government in power. Yeah. You vote for a government in power. In America, you have the Democrats now in power. Assuming you hear tomorrow Bin Laden has come to the Republican, how will the Americans feel? You don't vote for Republican, there is a Republican at the pool. The person who benefits from their decision has gone against them.
Interestingly.
If you are in the camps now become a PDP member, the PDP is now in government by default. Government in Nassau by default. If the people want to put somebody in Nassau they have the democratic procedure and free will to do so. Their house should not be forced. After voting, the decision is made, and it will not be allowed to stand. Altering that decision by taking the vote and running to the other side of the divide is not only illegal, it is immoral. That immorality and illegality and inequity is what the court has cured with this landmark decision. It should be commended and celebrated by all lovers of democracy. Unlike those who are pretending to be Democrats by lips and not at heart. Because if democracy is being savaged from the claws of swindlers, I think it is a thing we should applaud, not condemn. Even if the matter is taken on appeal, which he has the right to, there is no guarantee that it will be reversed. It is a probability. Because we are not here to say with certainty this is how the outcome will be. Yeah. But on grounds of law, principle of laws and morality and equity and the spirit of democracy and what it entails, I think this judgment is a consonance with what democracy represents.
Okay. Just before we cap it up, Mr. Daudu, if this judgment were to stand, what are the benefits to democracy? Yeah, quickly.
The first benefit is that we change the incessant decampi by political office holders. That's the first thing it will achieve, to serve as deterrent to those who will steal the mandate of a political party and run away with it. That will be checked immediately. And apart from that, it will deepen our democracy. It will create an ideological dynamism. Because what we have in Nigeria is that there is no ideological pursuit in our political agenda. And as such, people move from one political party to another with reckless abandon, with the fact that they believe that there will be no consequences. I think you could see that there is no even debate as to whether or not the 16 members of the House of Assembly have lost their seat. They have lost the seat. Now, what the judge would have done, which people have not actually looked at, was that the party could have declared the governor's seat vacancies, but they didn't do so because it's not procedural. They could have just go to news media and say, we have declared his seat vacant, have it decamped. They didn't go to, they go through the procedure, the due process of law. They went through the due process of law. And the law is, you have left, the votes belong to this man. So if they have declared his seat vacant on their own, that would have been an due process. They went through the courts, exhausted all the legal remedies and submissions with proof. And the court said, you have proved yourself or proved your case on the ballot of popularity. As my colleague has said, the issue of immunity does not arise in this case. Those who have leveraged and labored on grounds of immunity, on grounds of tenure with due respect, is a labor in vain. The judgment of the court is perfect. As he said, we are not going to say what the Court of Appeal will say. But whether or not the Court of Appeal does otherwise, it has served a strong stigma to the political scene that it is not business as usual. Whatever the judgment on appeal, on the appellate court is, about the Court of Appeal or Supreme Court, is immaterial. What is material to those, to the political scene now, is that it is not business as usual to just toy with the mandate of the people. As he said, it's not only the mandate of the political party, the people who went to vote for a particular political party. I was telling a colleague, for instance, I went to my village and said support APC, for instance, and they supported APC based on my conviction. Immediately I goes back and now reported back to, I'm sorry, we have moved to PDP. They will never take you serious again. Anything. They say you know that you were deceiving them at the time you came to court. It's the votes you were looking for. You have taken the votes. You went there with your principal and did a different thing. You can never be trusted in that village. For instance, in my village, Ika village, you can never be trusted again. They say he came and deceived us. He went to Benin and they just changed it. He now coming to us and say, you cannot be trusted. Even with not political party now, even individuals who are political stakeholders who went to the village, you will say you swindled them. You come to deceive them. Say, look at him. He has collected money. He tells the tenor to vote for this family. We vote for him now. They have got to change the whole thing. They will never believe you again. The court has written the wrongs of the past. And we believe, strongly so, that this will shape the political development, the political growth of Nigeria. Okay,
Pastor, like I said, wouldn't we be too hasty if we conclude that this judgment will indeed have any meaningful impact in our political process?
If a product is good, you will know it as a consumer. We are in a democracy. We are lovers of freedom. We love our mandate to be respected as electorate. If any decision I say your mandate should be respected, are you going to say, oh, no, my mandate does not deserve any respect? It should be abused. What they have been doing is abuse of mandate. I come from President Duke under Labour Party as the governor of Edo State, for instance, and tomorrow I hear that President Duke, without even inviting to me, is now in Abda. With my mandate I gave to him. It is not your property. You're holding a trust for me. In the issue of trustee and beneficial relationship, whatever I do with it should be with my consent in my interest. Why will you take a mandate I gave to you under a platform to another platform? Maybe that power never like that platform. That's why I voted for you. You are not taking me willingly against my will to appear with my mandate elsewhere. You know what that means? If I'm your principal and you are my agent, I say, okay, this is this particular contract with a particular name company. Go and bid for it. That is the mandate given to you. On your way, you went to another company to bid for a different contract. Are you still acting on my authority as a principal? No. You have lost the authority as an agent. Because when you work against the interest and authorization of a principal, you have lost your agency. So what the governors did, or whoever is absconding with money did, what they do, all they have done is to lose their agency with the people.
This is a common practice in our political process. And sometimes we look the other way like, oh, it's right, they should have. I mean, I will see that happen.
No, people will be complaining. People will be complaining about this reckless crisscrossing, carpet crossing, that have become a stigma People complain. And the thing is that there is difference between complaint and finding a remedy. The place to get the remedy is the court of law. And that has been secured. The people could do nothing. Because we have no power to go and handle them, bundle them, and throw them back to where we put them. So it's not a WrestleMania. So we can wail and cry and frown, but they keep doing it because they feel there's nothing we can do. We've already gotten the mandate. Yes. We are above your reach. Now, we have been able to reach them through the long arm of the law. So they have been caught. It's a good end of the road for them. Never again will they be trading us of our mandate. If they want to remain a particular party, they should contest and come out under that platform. And basically, we know that this is the party we want. Because every party has its own manifesto.
Absolutely.
You can't respond, and my solution is dashed. They say free education here. Now I voted for you. Now you are in the pain that says education must not be free. Have you not assassinated me politically? You are a murderer, democratically speaking. You have killed my hopes and aspirations, and the destiny of people that are yet unborn. That is inhumanity, not humanity to man. That has been remedied, and we have been rescued by the decision. And I hope and pray that this judgment is sustained.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for the views canvassed here on the state of affairs with Ebonyi State Governor and his deputy, talking about Dave Umahi and, of course, Dr. Kelechi Igwe, his deputy, and also the fate of the 16 other members of the State House of Assembly were also given the same treatment by Justice Ian Ekwo of the Federal High Court, Abuja. Well, as always the case, they have the right to go on appeal, which of course we heard they're already on the path of doing that. But how all of this will pan out, we can't say until the court decides. But as it is today, with the judgment by the Federal High Court, analysts are saying that this will help to deepen democracy and reduce, perhaps eradicate completely the trend of politicians leaving from party A to B after winning mandate in a particular political party. Barrister Sonny, that will remain. Thanks for coming.
I'm grateful.
Thank you for
coming.
Thanks for having me.
It's TMI Thursday. My colleagues will be back here with our next guest as we talk about the International Women's Day. Reflections on it. Don't go away.